your chest. You can beat the world, you can beat the war.
And going in there very quickly is Johnson. Johnson gets it across here to Murphy. Murphy dodging cleverly then, lines them up, but they're kicking, gets the kick in up towards centre forward. And here's the opportunity for Geelong West again. That has been put through by Fraser Murphy. The little rover, the opportunist down there in the goal square, made no mistake about it with the ball with Sells. He gets it back in the direction of Murphy. Murphy dodging around opponents.
May not be able to take no further part in the match. Ian Bowden is replacing him. Back here, Phil.
Righto, Tony, and play goes on as we see coming down the field here for Geelong West was Murphy, and he's put it through for full points again. The pack was Rod Dunbar. Comes out in the direction of Bowden. Bowden loses the run of the ball, a pick up by Murphy, and Murphy doing it well. A hand pass across to Higgins. Higgins going downfield for Geelong West. Back to Murphy, and look at Murphy, tuck it under the arm in rugby fashion.
Warren in the back line, going for the chip out towards Austin, but finally coming in and picking it up nicely is Murphy for Geelong West, but he's offline.
A run for his teammate in Welch. Welch tried to juggle the ball, couldn't do so. Being grabbed here, when not in possession, is Murphy, and he must get the free kick. So Murphy wide of centre half forward. He's kicked 2-1.
In towards the centre of the ground, Bryan was up there, but it favoured Murphy. Murphy from Geelong West has got great pace. He's had 2 bounces.
Tapped down to the ground by Tawney, through in the direction of Murphy. Murphy got grabbed head high, but the umpire called play on. That's possession and gets the kick in. He gets it to his teammate in Murphy. And Murphy, who's been one of the top players on the ground, goes in for his kick as a player across towards the stand side of the ground. Murphy goes up in front of his opponent to pull in the mark. Murphy, the very fast little rover for Geelong West, and clever, as you saw then, the way he handled the ball, gets it up towards the half.
But Franz comes out, Franz relieves the pressure, gets it to Murphy, and Murphy's played particularly well. And that will be his 3rd bounce to come up for his 17th kick when he has his 5th bounce now. He's not going to have his 17th kick, so he hand passes out towards Tawney. And there's a bit of
to take the mark. And eventually Murphy gains possession. He races out of the pack. He can line them up if he takes his time. And Murphy lining them up, puts the ball on its way. And there's a reply by Geelong West for 14-14.
Geelong West 14-14, 98, 25 minutes gone.
All right, and moving through is Murphy. Murphy, nearly copped one there. Tried to get the hand pass in. The umpire blowing the whistle says he got grabbed a bit too high. And Murphy looking a bit exhausted and winded as he's on the ground there. Well, I don't know whether he'll be able to take the kick. The umpire, no, it's going across here and will be taken away by Eddie. And Sells comes in to pull in the mark. So Sells now with his kick on its way, and it goes up to the line by the appearance of it, but Plowman is the player to take it. Been sharp.
It went in towards Higgins there, but it came down in the direction of Sells, or possibly Murphy. This is Fraser Murphy, runner up to the Liston Trophy winner. It's a bounce and it's through. Geelong West, first goal.
Across to Fraser Murphy. Murphy now trying to dodge in the middle. And going in there very quickly is Johnson. Johnson gets it across here to Murphy. Murphy dodging cleverly then.
Free kick will be picked up by Fraser Murphy, and he'll take the free kick and boot the ball.
He tapped it away. A one-handed pick-up. Well done by Fraser Murphy. Murphy moving around Van. Chad Van tried to scoop it off the ground, couldn't do so. And the umpire will come in and get the free kick, and will be taken by Krantz. Sylvester Krantz of the Geelong West side. He's got lead.
Touching the ball, so the result of the free kick will be picked up by Fraser Murphy, and he'll take the free kick and boot the ball back in towards the centre forward.
Krantz now wide of the centre. Moving in was Ferring. He tapped it away. A one-handed pick-up. Well done by Fraser Murphy. Murphy moving around opponents. You see it. Pushed back by the pack, and it goes into the hands of Fraser Murphy. Murphy Advan throws himself into it. Billy Swan trying to get through. But there's Murphy, who picks the ball up as though it's dry.
Started my career at Bell Park, under 14-year-old. Played there until I came to West. We had some good junior sides there. Highlight was probably the 1980 grand final in the reserves. I was 17 and we played North Shore, who were basically rated their second side to be half the senior sides in the GFL. And we were ably led by Jeff Jarvis and Gavin Seidel, and we pulled off the miracle by falling into the 4 on percentage and going through and winning the whole thing. So that was a great experience as a young guy. But also at Bell Park to play under guys like Stan Taylor, who I called the protector. He'd always look after the little blokes, and he always stood a lot taller when Stan was around. To play against guys like Alex Risen, Peter Angelovich, Brad Nichols, Gary Finnemore. It was just some great legends of the Geelong Football League. So that was a really good grounding for me. And really enjoyed my time there. And then in 1983, or start of 83, Darky Harris came over and said we'd like to have a chat to you about coming over to the West. So we'll get onto that later. I'll come back onto the West later. What I'm going to talk about now. After I finished had the year at West, I went to Carlton. I was there for 8 years. Lucky enough to play in the Premiership, play 100 games, life member. So I had a great time there. Then when that finished, I had a year at Rooster in the Bftp under Leon Harris and Damien Drum. That was an enjoyable year, but I didn't really. The second year I wasn't that into it. I think it was the start of the end of the passion to play. So the next 2 years I played at North Heidelberg. Managed to play as an assistant coach in the grand final and premiership there. Then the year after I went to Upwards Crossing, and the year after I was the assistant coach at Altona. And by that time I think I prostituted enough money out of everyone for a bloke that wasn't really getting a kick. So I decided to retire at the end of that year. I think I was 34 and I'd really well truly had enough by then. Other guys leave the game and they don't know what to do. When I left I was basically cooked, so that was the story basically. With Geelong West, as I said, I was a young kid at GFL. David Harris rang me up and said we'd like to have a chat to you about coming to West for next year. And I remember coming to West as a kid, always back in the hill there, kicking a footy with the mates and watching Stephen Wells and Stephen Wolfe and all those guys run around. He used to tell everyone that Wolfie was my neighbour, just to try and impress a few people. And I came down and did pre-season with West, and I was never a confident footballer in my ability. I felt that I had to work really hard, and I'd missed out on a lot of rep sides. I'd been at Geelong when I was 15 and 17 and the 19s and didn't get a game there. And I just never felt really confident in my ability, so I think that was one of the strengths that I had, that I knew I had to work hard, and Darky worked as hard, and he was the one that gave me a real confidence that maybe I could play at VFA level, because I still wasn't sure. I remember young Ricky Burnett used to remind me every training session that he was the #1 rover here, and me and Mark Johnson have to fight for the second spot. And he got into my head a little bit, and just before the practice matches, I was starting to think, Bell Park had started up again, the boys were getting into me, and I said to Darky, I know Darky, Ricky's telling me every week that I'm going to be the second rover if that, and Darky just turned around and said, well, come and play this week, because you're playing on him. So I played on him, and that was the end of it. I never saw Ricky again. And Darky just came over and said, well done, and then we just started to play the year out, and it was a good year, really good year, really enjoyable. I know I got rung a few times by Geelong to go down there and play in the reserves, and I'd never played a game at anything at Geelong, and I'd be wrapped. Get the call on Thursday night from Tommy Hafey, we're going to play this week. And I'd get all excited, and then Friday night, Saturday morning would come and they'd say, no, we don't need you. And, no, we were doing good things at West, and Tommy rang me up about a third of the way through the season, maybe halfway through the year, and said, look, we want you to play this week. And I just said, look Tommy, I don't want to play down there. I'm really enjoying playing with the mates here at West. I think we're going to do something special. I'm having a great time. I don't want to leave them. And then I didn't go back for the rest of the year. I didn't go down there for all that year. And we did have a special year, and to sit here now and look around the ground, to see the crowds that were here, to play with the blokes I played with, like Sylvester Crane, Jan Smith, Andrew Evans, Mickey Higgins, Mark Dalhouse, Stephen Sells, Mel Eddy, Brett Tawney, Welshie, Joe Dodjevic. I'm going to forget somebody, so sorry fellas if I have. We had a really good side, and I think we went into that grand final. We'd been done 3 times before, but every time we played them we got closer and closer. I honestly thought we were a real chance to get them. The start killed us, and I remember with a couple of minutes to go in the fourth quarter there, I was standing behind Ronnie Watt, who was about 45 out on an angle, and we were 8 points down. I remember thinking, if Waddy kicks this, we're going to come over the top of them because they were spent. Unfortunately, Waddy missed. They played around for the next couple of minutes and we lost the game, but nobody's fault. Everyone had a go. Darky was a fantastic coach. I can't thank him enough. Johnny Woods, just a fantastic little bloke. And, great Kevy Barker, the head of medical staff, he was fantastic. It was just a great club to be at. And we come back here and after the grand final, I remember thinking, there's a reception at Geelong West Town Hall. I thought, there'll be nobody there. And we came down Shannon Avenue, and I'll never forget it. You couldn't move. There was thousands of people there. And we got off the bus, and it was just unbelievable. I could think to myself, God, imagine what it'd be like if we actually won the thing. But it was just fantastic. The whole town got behind us, and we came back here that night, and we partied hard like we did most Sunday nights. And that was the real thing about being here. The guys, because it was Sunday football, and a lot of us had come from local footy, other guys had come down from the country, like Mickey Higgins and Jock Evans and that. We stuck together and we stuck together all week, and then Sunday night was a culmination. And the other thing was the girls got on so well. All the guys' partners got on really well, so the girls were always happy, the boys were happy. It was a great environment to be in. And we played, as I said, we played great footy. It was just a great time of my life. I really enjoyed being here at West, and I was so grateful that Darky got me down here. And then a couple of times, as I said, I thought maybe not. He persevered with me. And I can't thank you enough. Does it burn me that we didn't win the 83 grand final? Probably burn isn't the right answer. It was disappointing. We had a real opportunity, a group of young guys. For the club to fold 4 years or whatever later was terribly disappointing. But, I was lucky enough to go on and play at the highest level in the grand final. And when you play that, you realise that whatever else you've achieved is fairly special, but to play on that last day at Gfc in front of 100,000 people and to win an AFL Grand Final or Premiership, it's enormous. It's life-changing. It's something you can talk about all the time. Your reunions are fantastic. It was just a wonderful experience. I was so lucky to get to Carlton and so lucky to be able to play on that day. And I remember the end of the 83 season, I got runner-up in the Liston, and Gibbo came one vote behind in third. Billy Swan won it. Good player, Bill. And I got interest from a fair few clubs in Melbourne and interstate. And I sat down with my mum and dad and spoke to them, and we sort of went through who was making offers and who to talk to and who not to. And my sister, mad Carlton at the time, I didn't even follow Carlton, couldn't even tell you who was playing there. She kept saying, go to Carlton, go to Carlton, go to Carlton. But I had no allegiance to anyone really. And in the end, we narrowed it down. Dad and I sat down and we had a look at best options, and we sort of said, well, Carlton are coming off 79, 81, 82 day premierships and an 83 night premiership, so you're going to have a crack, you may as well have a crack at the top. So we went up and had the interview and met David Parkin and the legendary Wes Lofts, legendary chairman selectors up there for years. And I had a really good chat with Parko, and Parko told me what he expected and what he wanted me to do and where he thought I could go. And I went to the full-on team meeting where they outlined pre-season, and there would have been 80 blokes there. And Dad and I just walked in from the side entrance and took about 4 steps in, and Jimmy Buckley just got up and made a beeline straight for me and said, "You're the little bloke Murphy from Geelong West, aren't you?" I said, "Yeah," and he introduced himself to my father. And he never forgot me. He met my father once, and he didn't meet him for 4 years later. And he still knew my dad's name. He was a fantastic bloke like that, Jimmy. And then Big Whale Jones came over with Des English. And then Wayne Johnson came over and said, just we need another little bloke from the VFA. He said, "You stick with me, son, I'll look after you." And they certainly did. And during the pre-season, during the first season, on and off the field, those blokes were fantastic for me. We did everything together. I lived at the footy club. It's one of my wife still married me. But they were fantastic. And I remember when I had the meeting with Carlton, I walked out of the meeting with Carlton. I was really excited, I was really pumped up. I thought it was just fantastic, what they had laid out. And I know that our money side of it was very good, but what he laid out and what the pre-season program was it was fantastic. And they used to have split up in groups, and there'd be the Dominators and the Buckleys, and there was groups of teams, and they'd compete. All your training was throughout competition, and you get points for the time trials and skill matches and things like that. and the group that won the end of the year got $10,000. So it was pretty full-on competition to win. So everyone was up and about for the pre-season. So I was wrapped in that. And I remember coming down the highway with the old man saying, "Jesus, that's absolutely right. I'm buzzing at the moment." Now I went down to Geelong, and I won't say who I spoke to at Geelong, but it was less than underwhelming, I suppose. If I had played 10, it's just not the money side either. If I had played 10 senior games, I wouldn't have got as much that I was getting to go to Carlton just for joining. That was without match payments and bonuses and the rest of it. And I thought to myself, I don't really owe anything to Geelong. I've been down there from 15. I was down there at 17. I've been in the GFL here. I was here a year at West, and they hadn't given me one reserve game. I thought, well, why is it going to change because other clubs have shown interest? So I sort of thought about it, well, will I, won't I? And then the last thing they said to me going out the door was, "We hope you haven't got a big head because you came runner-up in the Liston, because we've got enough of them down here already." And I walked outside, and fair to say I was flat, and I just said to myself then, Carlton, I'm going to Carlton. And even if I don't make it to Carlton, as I said before, I may as well have a crack at the best side in the competition at that stage. And 107 games, 158 goals, senior premiership, reserve premiership, and life member later, after 8 magnificent years, I owe a lot to that football club, and I owe a lot to this football club, and I owe a lot to Bell Park for giving me the opportunities and presenting me the opportunities that came up. And of course, without mum and dad and my wife and sister, none of that would have happened. So they've been a fantastic part of my journey. So thank you all very much. On the time at Carlton, as I said, I went there in '84, and the first 2 years we played finals, but didn't go much further than that. Didn't make a preliminary or anything like that. And it was a change in the guard was coming in. I remember I was playing, and there was Bruce Dool and Jeff Southby and Curly Austin, Rod Ashford, Alex Marcoux, Peter McConville, Lyle Jones, all these great players from the late 70s, early 80s. And they were being phased out. Most of them went to St Kilda. But they were going out. In '86 we had big influx. We got Kernahan, Bradley, Dorotich, Nailey, Motley, Satori, Richard Dennis, and Adrian Gleeson. I think just a couple of small names in there for that pre-season. But so the '86, '87, '88 were the 3 years we had real success. Runners up in '86, premiers in '87, and preliminary final, which we should have won in '88. And then, as I said, I went on and I played 90 games for the first 5 years, and then 10, 6, and then Parkin came back in '91. And as I said earlier, Parkin was the main reason I went to Carlton in the first place. And I always say to him now that he started a career and he also finished a career. So in '91 we weren't getting the game. There was 4 or 5 of us, maybe 6, and I went to Parkin. He said what was going on for the rest of the year. He said, "Look, we're really not going to use you guys unless we need it, unless we get some of the injuries you've got to play you." But it was like when I went there in '84, the transition was changing again in '91, and I was part of the outgoing transition then. I mean, it was me, Shane Robertson, Glenn Hawker, I can't think of the other guys, but there's 5 or 6 of us, I suppose, that weren't going to get a game, as I said. So they had Fraser Brown, Brett Ratton, Kuda Foodies, Chris Dew, Michael Sexton, all these young kids coming out down the 19. So I was fully aware of what was happening, and I decided that I'd try. I played in the 1988 VFA representative side in the Bicentennial Carnival with actually Jock Evans was part of that. We caught up that year, and Terry Wheeler was the coach, and I got on really well with Wheels, and he was coaching Footscray at the time. So I rang him up and said, "Parko's told me I'm not going to get a game, but if I want to go, he won't hold me back." And I organised then, and Wheels was pretty impressed, pretty happy with that. So we organised I was going to go to the Dogs in the mid-season draft. So I rang up Robbie Walls, he was coaching Brisbane at the time, and told him what was going on, so he wouldn't touch me. And I rang Colton here, who was also second coach of Carlton in my time. He was coaching the Sydney Swans, told him what was going on. So I pretty much had a clear run to it. About 2 days before the draft, Stephen Goff from Carlton came in and said that there was a whisper going around the Collingwood in the draft. And I said, "Well, tell them not to, because I'm organising to go to the Dogs. And that's the only place I want to go. And he came back and he said, well, they said if they want you, they're going to draft you. I went, oh, great. So they did. And I remember going down there and beating Lou Matthews, and they said they'd play me 2 or 3 in the reserves, and because dates was finished at that stage. And I played the first week in the reserves, and Dates had just come back from a knee injury. He played in the seniors, and then he kicked 5. And I played the next week in the seconds, and he kicked 7. Then I played the next week in the seconds, and he kicked 6. And Matthews came to me again and said, well, just give you a couple more games in the seconds. You're just about in. And then he kicked 7, 9, 13 up at Carrara. And I remember being up to Carrara, and it was midway through the third, start of the last, and started talking a few trophies, and Oliver Collingwood second place said, hey, what are you doing? Murphy, you can't get on the drink now. You'll have a beer before the senior game gets there. You won't get selected next week. They'll rule you out for selection. I just stood there and said, mate, he just kicked his eye in the goal. I'm never going to get a game at this club, and through the form I didn't. And I got listed at the end of that year, and Footscray didn't see it coming either, because they signed Ricky Jackson up from Melbourne. And when I got the list, and Wheeler rang me up and he said, I can't believe that they've let you go. He said, I didn't know they were going to let you go. You could have come to the Dogs. And that was about the end. That was the end then of the AFL career. And as I said earlier, I went around the other clubs. Remember, a neighbour of mine played in the last game I ever played for, but I was playing for Altona Central. And that's 3 months after the season finished. He said, you want to go and have a beer and watch the game? And went over and watched it. And I thought, have a look at this bloke taking money under false pretense. I was absolutely terrible. I was cheating. I thought, this is where I had to go. I'm really glad I retired, but yeah, I haven't missed it since. But as I said earlier, places like this, I really did miss, and I loved it here, and yeah, always will.
You've given your heart to get here, and your soul to get it right. You can take 'em boots and all, but it's sure gonna take a fight. When you spend all week getting to your peak, you're gonna have your say. You bet. On Sunday, it's gonna be